Good morning, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jason Palanewan from the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Department at the ASEAN Centre for Energy. It is my pleasure and honor to become your Master of Ceremony for today's capacity building. We are delighted to welcome all of you to the series of ASEAN-China Capacity Building on Solar PV Plus Utilization Day 3. This capacity building is part of the utilization of solar PV to support the green economy recovery in ASEAN post-COVID-19 project, which is supported by the ASEAN-China Cooperation Fund. This event is also live streamed at our YouTube channel, ASEAN Centre for Energy, so you would be able to see a recording. Before we begin the session, I would like to share with you several housekeeping announcements. Panelists should ensure a convenient environment and reduce background noises such as turn off cell phones and etc. Panelists should also mute their microphone and only unmute if they wish to present or speak and is permitted by the organizers. Panelists should only turn on their video camera when presenting or speaking, as turning on the video may impact the quality of the connections and voice quality. This event will be recorded. We kindly ask for your understanding and consent in doing so. Participants can drop the questions via the Zoom Q&A feature or the chat box. If there is a technical issue during the event, participants may contact the organizers through the chat box. Previously, we have successfully organized the first and second day of the capacity building with the topic Solar PV Plus Potential as Green Recovery Strategy and Solar PV Plus in Agriculture, Fishery, and Animal Husbandry. As you can see on your screen right now, the agenda of the event today is to discuss the topic Solar PV Plus Building and Ecological Management. There will be two sessions in today's capacity building. The first session will be discussing the topic Solar PV Plus in Building, which will be moderated by Ms. Monica Merdekawati, the Technical Officer of Sustainable Energy at the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Department, ASEAN Centre for Energy, while the second session will be discussing the topic Solar PV Plus in Ecological and Community Management, which will be moderated by Mr. Argon Soikiao, the scientist of Department of Alternative Energy Development and Efficiency, the DE of Thailand. At the end of each sessions, there will be a panel discussion between the moderator and the panelists, and also a Q&A session with the participants. Before we move on to the next agenda, we will hold a group photo session. With this, I cordially invite Your Excellencies, the panelists and moderators, to turn on your web camera and take a position.
Okay, everyone, I'm going to take the picture for today. May I ask you to turn on your camera? Okay, I think everyone has turned on the camera. We'll take the photo in 3, 2, 1. Smile, everyone. Okay, once again, in 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Khairi. Without further ado, let us begin our first session about the Solar PV Plus in Building. Our first session will be moderated by Ms. Monica Merdekawati as the Research Analyst of the ASEAN Centre for Energy. I invite our moderator for this session to take over. Ms. Monica Merdekawati, the time is yours.
Yeah, hello. Thank you, Jason, for the kind opportunities. It is such a pleasure for me to moderate the session for the second time after the session yesterday. Hello, good morning from Jakarta. I am Monica Merdekawati. I am a technical officer or research analyst of ASEAN Centre for Energy. For the next approximately 45 minutes, I will moderate the discussion session on the solar PV utilization on building. Together with me, I am accompanied with two distinguished speakers. The first one is Dr. Lim Chin Hao, the Senior Research Fellow also of Solar Energy Research Institute, and also Dr. Zulfikar Yunaidi, the Senior Officer of ACE. And then in the end of the presentation, we will have another 20 minutes panel discussion with the focal points from the ASEAN member states. We have Mr. Widya, which I will introduce later, and also Mr. Wacharin from Thailand. So without further ado, I would like to begin by introducing our first speaker of today. Hello, Dr. Lim. It's nice to see you here. So Dr. Lim is currently a Senior Research Fellow at Solar Energy Research Institute of University Kebangsaan Malaysia. He has 30 years of professional architectural practice and also academic experience. He mainly specializes in passive and low energy architecture. So his current research also involved in the topic of today, the BIPV, the Building Integrated Photovoltaic System, and also the Building Energy Simulation and Performance, Energy Efficiency, and etc. So he was also appointed by United Nations Industrial Development Organization or as National Evaluator for several national projects such as GHG emission reductions and also application of solar thermal systems in Malaysia and energy efficient low carbon transport in Malaysia. He was also appointed expert by Malaysia's Sustainable Energy Development Authority or SEDA. So yeah. Without further ado, hello, Dr. Lim, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Monica. Very good morning to everyone. Okay, I'll just like to share my slides. Can you see it in presentation mode? Miss Monica, can you able to see my slides in presentation mode?
Yes, I can see it well. Thank you, Dr. Lim.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you again. I will share today one of our pilot project that we have collaboration with the Ministry of Health Malaysia and together with the Solar Energy Research Institute of University Kebangsaan Malaysia, UKM. The title of the project is a hybrid photovoltaic thermal, or sometimes known as the PVT, and a heat pump system for space cooling and water heating at the Hospital Kepala Batas, Malaysia. All right, just for the majority, I think I'd like to show the location of the hospital, which is located in the northern side of Malaysia, actually under the state of Penang. You can see on the slides, is located on the mainland, not the island of Penang, but is under the state of Penang. The hospital is actually governed by the Ministry of Health Malaysia, MOH, and it was completed in 2003, cost of 83 million ringgit Malaysia. The hospital size is can accommodate 108 beds, total beer area of 15,200, and the air-conditioned area of 5,700 square meters. All right. Majority of the hospital in Malaysia is actually naturally ventilated. Of course, they have certain air-conditioned area, but mostly is for the clinics and also for the office. Most of the hospital wards are naturally ventilated. The main objective of this research is actually to identify the state of the thermal comfort in the natural ventilated government hospital. And then secondly is to evaluate the improvement in the thermal comfort with the propose of insulation for the roof, which we call it radiant barrier, and also to introduce the PVT hybrid heat pump cooling system to improve this thermal comfort. Thirdly is to analyze and also to optimize the performance and also operation of the PVT hybrid heat pump cooling system through the field studies. And fourthly is to analyze the cooling effect and also the efficiency of panels under the Malaysian climate, which is the local climate condition. So this is the framework of the pilot project. We have firstly to undertake the baseline, and then we will design the PVT heat pump system, and then install, and then test and commissioning, and also monitor and optimize the system and record the research documentation. Okay, I think this is the following slide is to show you the concept of the photovoltaic thermal. Okay, actually the intention of the photovoltaic thermal is actually to improve the efficiency of the photovoltaic panel. As you can see from these slides, if you can cool down the panel, it can actually improve the power efficiency of the solar panel. So every, based on research, every rise in 1 degree of the solar panels can actually reduce the efficiency by 0.5%. So therefore, if you can improve the cooling side of the solar panel, therefore you can also improve the efficiency of the solar panel. So this concept of the solar panels, the PVT is actually combining the conventional solar panel with the thermal collector. So therefore, if you have a thermal collectors of 60% and then you have a solar panel of 18% efficiency, therefore you can plus them and then both together and then divide by 2, which is 39% efficiency. So therefore you get a higher efficiency by combining these both thermal collectors and also the photovoltaic panels. All right. So the use of the fins actually been integrated into the photovoltaic panel by creating something like a channel that allows the air to flow through. The fins is also something like your engine fins. If you know that you've seen the motorcycle parts, you can see the fins, which is air cool, that enable the solar panel to cool down further by using the airflow. Right. So there are research been published by this Key. This is a researcher on the case study on thermal engineering journals. They claim the efficiency panels can improve from 91.81 without the cooling to 11.2% with the cooling fins. So it's quite effective. So this is the slide showing the fins that has been incorporated into a conventional photovoltaic panel. That you have a panel of 1 meter by around 2 meters in length. And then the fins is actually been installed as a heat sink underneath the panel. You can see the photo on your right hand side as well. You can see the fins have been installed onto the back side of the solar panel. So it acts like a heat sink. Okay, so this is the diagram of the photovoltaic thermal hybrid heat pump cooling system. From this chart, you can actually showing you the PVT, the photovoltaic thermal. All right, and then this is the cooling ward. Okay? All right, and then you have a heat pump here. All right, so the air is actually been the channel to the photovoltaic panel, and then cooling the panel, and then the hot air and then will be discharged and then goes back into the heat pump. All right, the cool air is generated through the heat pump and then being channeled into the cooling ward. At the same time, the heat pump will produce hot water. All right, so the hot water will then be channeled into a hot water tank, which is around 600 liters. And then the hot water can be supplied to the application of the hospital. So the other way, the cooling water can come in as well and be channeled into the heat pump. All right. So this is the whole entire PVT hybrid heat pump cooling system. All right. The heat pump is a it's an air source heat pump that we are using. So you have the capacity of cooling capacity of 16.5 kilowatt, which is 4.7 ton. All right. With a COP of 4, all right, so which is quite efficient. So this is the view of the PVT installation onto the roof of the hospital. All right, this is on top, and you can see the piping, which actually we pipe in the cool air from the heat pump, and then the cool air will then flow through the photovoltaic array and then be discharged out again. Right. So this slide shows the area of the hospital ward that been supplied by the cool air. So we are using the fabric duct that has been installed and then runs across the hospital ward, and then this fabric duct actually what we call discharge the cool air into the ward environment. All right. The photovoltaic panel that we use for this project is actually 8 kilowatt solar panels manufactured by Jinko Solar. So Jinko Solar is one of our collaborator in this research. So this photo shows the hospital ward in the main section. There you can see actually the hospital in the current condition is the thermal comfort is quite poor, that they have to use even a stand fan in order for the patient to feel comfortable. So that means the ward is quite warm. So therefore, by installing the cooling system, the hybrid cooling system, we will improve the thermal comfort of this natural ventilated ward. Okay, a bit on the fundamentals of the thermal comfort study. Thermal comfort actually is based on the 6 parameters, whereby is actually is under the standard ASHRAE 55 thermal sensation. The 6th part is actually the airspeed, the air temperature, the radiant temperature, the metabolic rate, the clothing insulation, and the humidity, and they mix up all for the human comfort. So all these parameters actually influence this human comfort. So the thermal sensation, if you look at the chart on your right hand side, so the 0 is neutral and +3 is hot and -3 is cold. So this is the gauge for the thermal comfort, right? It's based on the studies. So this is a slide showing the equipment that we use to actually study the baseline thermal comfort. This is the thermal microclimate instrument that we fix on the hospital ward. It can actually measure the air velocity, the mean radiant temperature, the air temperature, and humidity. And then the instrument also can plot out the thermal comfort range, right? So this is a picture that we're fixing the instrument in the hospital ward, right? Okay, this is a picture of the doctors that's also in charge of these hospitals, right? And the researchers as well. Okay, another instrument that we fixed is also for the indoor air quality study. This is a TVOC, or Total Volatile Organic Compound Measurement Instrument, that to measure the total organic compounds, the volatile organic compounds of the hospital ward, right? So this is also quite important to see how is the indoor air quality of the ward. The TOC levels that we want to measure is actually there's a range of 0 to 14 ppm, which is low pollution. If 15 to 34 ppm, it will be a moderate pollution. If 35 to 50, it will be a high pollution. So there are 5 main gases that is measured by the equipment: the toluene, ammonia, ethanol, H2S, and air and hydrogen. So we also monitor the what we call all the data be collected and also channel into a real-time monitoring system. This system that we install is a Siemens system. It's called Desigo CC. You can able to monitor the performance of the ward. Okay, this is the photo of the sensors, and the monitoring is connected to a PC on site, and the sensor is fixed on top of the ceiling, and then we have also a climate measurement for the temperature and also the humidity. Okay, the next slide I will show is actually the baseline existing thermal comfort and the AQ condition at the ward 3. This graph shows the condition of the indoor ambient temperature versus the humidity. So you can see actually that the temperature and the RH actually drops around 9 a.m. and remaining at 60% to 5 p.m. The lowest RH is actually from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Average RH, we found out that is around 75%. The highest temperature is 32 degree around 4 p.m. And the lowest 27 degree during early in the morning. So this is the condition of the ambient temperature and RH. This is the graph showing the average indoor ambient temperature. So it fluctuates between 29 to 32 degrees Celsius. So it's quite a pretty warm what we call indoor environment. Okay, this is the graph showing the indoor air velocity that we have taken through the hospital ward. And you can see that most of the airflow is actually quite low. It's less than 0.5 meter per second. And this is a graph showing the PMV, or the predicted mean vote, is the thermal comfort. It ranges from between 1 to 2.5. So if 1 to 2.5, it shows that it's actually on the warm side. Right? All right, so this is based on the MET of 1.15 and the clothing index of 0.7. So the data is actually recorded every 5 minutes interval. And this graph shows that also the plot versus PMV versus PPD. PMV is the predicted mean vote, and PPD is a percentage of people dissatisfied. So you can see that actually on the warm side. 0 is neutral, and 1 is already warm, and equivalent comes up until almost 2.5, which is actually quite uncomfortable for the patients. All right, so this is the average mean of the PMV and also PPD. It shows that it's actually between 1.3 to 2.2, right? And on the CO2 level that we also measured, the CO2 level, the nighttime CO2 level is between 450 ppm to 650. It's actually maybe mostly due to the window that has been closed during the night, because the nurses will close the window, and therefore there's no fresh air coming in, and the CO2 level increases. But in the morning, the CO2 level actually drops because the window has been opened and the fan are switched on. So we can see the CO2 drops to almost 400. Overall, CO2 level is still acceptable. It's still below 1000 ppm, which is the safety level, right? And then this is the graph showing the total volatile organic compound, TVOC. And we noticed that actually there are some spikes in and out and in, and then but averagely is still within the acceptable level of 14 ppm. Okay, we also, besides that, we also did a survey on the ward occupants. We also covers patient, visitors, and nurses, doctors, and also the hospital workers. All right, so we want to see what is the perception of these occupants in the ward. So we noticed that most of the people or the occupants voted that the ward is actually warm, 42%, and also hot is around 40%. So it actually shows that whatever we measure is correct, and also the subjective survey is also showing the same answers as well. All right, this is the sample of the survey, what we call question that we circulated among the occupants of the ward. Yeah. All right. So the questionnaire is actually based on the ASHRAE 55 standard of a 7-point scale. Right? Okay. So result from the survey at the ward, we have the patient around 24% who answer. We have even visitors 12%, nurse 52%, and doctors 8%, and hospital workers 4%. We make up of the total of the respondent of the survey. So we found out that actually 85.2% of the people in the ward felt very warm to hot level, so which is not so healthy. All right, so we decided to install the hybrid PVT system and heat pump for this natural ventilated ward to improve the thermal comfort. Okay, so this graph shows before and after the installation of the hybrid system. So the blue line is when is without the system, and the red one is actually after we install the system. So we have an improvement of 2 to 3 degrees in Celsius of the temperature. So it's a significant improvement after we fix in the system to cool down the hospital ventilated ward. So we can see even the PMB, which is the gauge for the thermal comfort, was also improved. They say the post installation and also drop, right? So this is the red line is the pre-installation, and then this the blue line is after we install the system. So we have improved. And then this is the indoor operative temperature versus mean outdoor temperature. Before the hybrid, you can see most of the temperature reading is out from the comfort range. So after we install the hybrid system, most of the comfort zone reading is within the range that is acceptable, right? Besides putting the system, we also put up what we call a radiant barrier. Is actually is a passive system, and that we fix this reflective insulation, or sometimes known as radiant barrier, onto the roof of the hospital ward. So that one will also improve the heat gain, to reduce the heat gain from coming in through the roof into the hospital ward. So from the room temperature, we can the roof temperature, we can see a reduction of almost 7 degrees Celsius in the attic. And the heat flux reduction is almost 80%, which is quite significant. Can you see the slides? Okay, so I think that's about all of my presentation. So I pass back to Miss Monica.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Lim, for the comprehensive presentation. It is interesting to know like the detail behind the environmental and also comfortness impact, but I'm more curious about how you manage to do that actually. So let's put it for our discussion later. Without further ado, I would like to invite our second distinguished speaker, Dr. Zulfikar Yurnaidi. Dr. Zulfikar is the Senior Officer of Sustainable Energy and Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Department of ACE, and he was project manager of the recently launched ASEAN Energy, the 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook, or AEO7. He was also the senior researcher of the ASEAN Climate Change and Energy Project. In those roles, Dr. Zulfikar conducts many research and cooperation activities in the field of renewable energy, energy efficiency, and climate change, which include thematic publication studies, and also many collaborative activities with various partner and various dialogue organization and international partners. So he is a graduate from the Ajo University of Korea and working in energy modeling, focusing on the application of energy technologies ever since until now. So yeah, hello, Dr. Zulfikar, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica, as the moderator, especially for the kind introductions of me and also the 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook. So just to introduce again, the 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook, or the AO7, has been launched officially and endorsed by the ASEAN Ministers on Energy meeting, or AMEM, which was held, I think, 3 weeks ago in Cambodia. So His Excellency Minister of Energy of Cambodia, His Excellency Susem, officially launched our study, which is a main reference, official reference for energy outlook in the region. So this ASEAN Energy Outlook is designed to support the APAIC, which is the Energy Cooperation Blueprint in the region, especially in the achievement of the regional targets, renewable energy and also energy efficiency. As we have discussed, I think this is the 3rd day of this capacity building. The region aims to achieve the renewable energy share in primary energy supply as much as 32%, and also to increase the installed capacity by 35% of renewable in the power system. And through this presentation today, I would like to share with you what will be the status today, what are the potential outlook or potential futures of the energy system in the region, especially related with renewable energy, and probably what will be the potential roles of the solar PV applications so that the region can move towards a more cleaner, low carbon energy system, probably also based on solar and its innovative application of solar PV plus. So if I can have the next slide, please. So a brief introductions, the ASEAN Energy Outlook, this AO7, we call it like that, continues the three main scenarios from the previous editions of Outlook. So we usually project the baseline in which we do not set any specific policy, both in renewable energy and energy efficiency moving forward. And we also set the national target scenario. So we applied the targets of each 10 ASEAN member states in terms of renewable energy and energy efficiency and projected until 2050. But then we usually notice that there is a gap in the achievement of regional target, both in energy efficiency and also renewable energy. And that's why we developed the APS, or the regional APAEC target scenario, in which we set the region to achieve their renewable energy and energy efficiency targets. And then we continue the projections with the similar approaches, continuing until 2050. And introduced in the 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook is the least cost optimization scenario, or the LCO, in which we optimize the power sector, in which renewable energy is a very huge part of. And then we see what will be the least cost options on that and analyze based on the results. And what we see is that while renewable energy is not used as much in the LCO scenario, we notice that the reason why is because it's still in needs of a huge financing, of huge technology improvement, so that the cost can be more competitive compared to the others. And then that's what we are looking at, and probably we can find the solutions in these 3 days capacity building. Next slide, please. So just a brief overview of how we do the modeling. So we model the whole energy system, so a little bit different than some models that focus more on the power system only, or only on the building system, or only the transport system. So we develop the whole end-use sectors, residential, building, and also commercial, also building, but also we model the transport system and also industry system in the regions. And by modeling this bottom-up modeling, finding out how much electricity required, petroleum product required, we then model also the transformation system, analyzing to supply this level of electricity, how many coal is required, how many solar and wind energy required, etc., etc. The same with the petroleum products. And then we also work with the availability of resources, checking whether it will be enough, and then whether we're going to need more import in the future, which also relates with the energy security. And then we analyze the whole system in terms of energy supply, the primary energy supply, final energy consumptions, electricity mix, the costs, etc., etc. Next slide, please. Just a brief overview that we see that there are various pathways of energy system in the future. I have to remind that this is just one of the various pathways that is possible in the future. But our baseline scenario showed that at least 4 times of energy, primary energy, is required for the regions to supply their economic growth and population growth. But with the strength of the energy efficiency efforts and also diversification energy, we can reduce this energy requirement, primary energy requirement, up to 2.7 times. So I think it's very huge improvement. And also the same with the LCO scenario, we can reduce further until 2.5 times between 2020 to 2050. And we noted actually that our scenarios showed that fossil fuels are still leading of the power system, especially, but also on the end-use system from the transportation, industry, and buildings. But we also noted that the share of renewable energy continued to increase, especially in the APS scenario. And on the right-hand side, we can see the shift of the fuel. So between the baseline to the national target to the regional target scenario, we see that the geothermal, solar, and wind continue to increase along with the biomass and also other fuels. But in the cost optimization, we noticed that this renewables reduced along with the natural gas due to its pricing system currently and replaced with coal and also biomass and nuclear. Next slide, please. As I promised in the beginning, this is the status and also projections of the regional target in terms of renewable energy. In terms of installed capacity, we noted that the region has achieved a very good progress, especially in the last 2 years, in increasing its renewable energy share up to 33.3%. With the target of reaching 35% in the 2025, we noted that even with the national targets, without additional efforts, we can reach up to 37.9% of renewable energy share in 2025. So quite high above the target that we have, 35%. But then with more policies, more measures, we can also achieve this number up to 41% in 2025, and at most 63% of RE share can be available for installed capacity in 2050. Meanwhile, in the share of renewable energy and primary energy supply, which includes both electricity but also the finance sector, we see that the national target will give us 17.5% of renewable energy share in primary energy supply, which is have a gap for the target of 23% in 2025. And we noted that it needs a huge effort. If you see a purple line in here, we need a strong change of a trend from the past so that we can reach this 23% of renewable energy share in primary energy supply. Next slide, please. In terms of electricity generation system, as I noted, the renewable energy share will continue to increase, especially in the regional target scenario or the APS. The solar itself will increase up to 94 gigawatts in the APS in the 2050, around 13% of the share of the installed capacity at the time. And the same also with other sources, hydro, geothermal. And then in terms of investment, we noted that the APS actually also reduced the investment compared to the baseline because of the efforts in energy efficiency measures. So we need less energy to produce the same level of economic growth. But then we noted that in terms of optimization of power system, the investment of the LCO is lower, and that's partly because the huge additions of coal installed capacity instead of the other alternative, which is currently cheap. So the highlight in here is that homeworks are still there for the renewable energy system, including solar, so that it can compete with the conventional power in terms of overall cost, especially in the Southeast Asia regions, in which the cost of the generations for the solar is still marginally higher compared to the other regions in the world. Next slide, please. In terms of end-use sector, as I mentioned, there are huge opportunity here because the utilizations of industry and commercial remains the largest. Mainly the oil products required in here, 47% share in 2050 even for the baseline scenario, but it can be reduced down to 38% in APS, and along with that is increasing electricity. Electrifications that can improve as well the share of renewable energy in the system, especially when the power system continue to increase its renewable energy share in the APS. Another strategy that we see in our study, if you want to improve our achievement for renewable energy in TPES is more utilizations of renewables in the end use sector. And these include, of course, bioenergy in terms of biofuel for transport, biomass co-firing for the industry sector, but also the utilization of solar, including solar heating and many forms of the solar PV plus application. Next slide, please. So I think this will be my last slide for today. But in terms of policy recommendations, first I would like to note that we need accelerated efforts for the region to achieve the targets in renewable energy and total primary energy supply, while we actually projected the region is projected to go beyond its regional targets in terms of installed capacity more by 2.9%. And this kind of shows that beyond the power sector, we also need to improve our renewable energy penetration in the end use sectors, including in building. You also noted that beyond the capacity, this renewable needs also to contribute more to power generation mix. Meaning that, as we know, the renewable energy such as solar and wind had an issue in terms of intermittency. This variable renewable energy then needs to be coupled with the storage system, a stronger grid system, interconnection, so that we can optimize this capacity so it can be producing more generations. In the other words, we need measures to increase the capacity factor of this variable renewable energy, especially solar, because we had a huge potential in the region. As I mentioned before, storage, grid modernization, interconnections are very, very critical so that we can absorb huge penetration of solar in the future, so we can have a very stable, flexible, and resilient power system in the region. In terms of the end use sector, electrification is key because it can improve the efficiency as well by shifting the fossil fuel use from the end use sector to hopefully a greener power system. And also important, as I mentioned, is introductions of solar in the region. You know, what we are trying to say in the region is also that we are currently in the process of navigating energy transition, which needs to be secure but also resilient. Therefore, we need an innovative use of technologies, how to use solar in an innovative way so that it can accelerate the socio-economic growth. It can improve the social life of the people, accessibility and others, but also it needs to improve the economy. So utilization for solar PV for fishery, for tourism, for agriculture. So this kind of a synergy will be very, very important if we want to push the solar in the region. And maybe last but not least, we really need to secure both the technical capacity and also the financing terms so that the supporting environment can be created to accelerate the energy transition, including in solar, and also to secure, which becomes more important, the supply chain of these emerging technologies so it can benefit the region itself. So I will have the next slide, please. So this is my last slide. So if you want to learn more about the 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook, you can go to our website or you can check the go.aseanenergy.org/AO7. Thank you very much. Back to you, Monica.
Thank you, Dr. Zulfikar, for the insightful presentation. I especially like your recommendation from the 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook that both renewable energy and energy efficiency basically need to work hand in hand together to really guarantee the energy security of ASEAN, basically, I would say. So yeah, let's discuss more in our discussion session. So to start with, I would like to introduce our first panelist from the member states, Mr. Widya Adi Nugroho. Mr. Widya Adi Nugroho is, hello, Mr. Widya. Yeah, hello. Mr. Widya is the sub-coordinator of Electricity Business Supervision in Directorate General of New Renewable Energy and Energy Conservation of Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources of Indonesia. Previously, he had worked as the head of Renewable Energy Business Supervision and also head of Renewable Energy Technical Section. And he obtained his master's degree in Management of Electricity System and Energy in University of Indonesia. So, hello, Mr. Widya. I would like to begin with asking you the first question is to ask about what is your thoughts on the current status of the solar PV utilization in the building in Indonesia, and how you see the development in the next 5 or 10 years ahead. So yeah, over to you, Pak Widya. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Monica. Good morning, everyone. My name is Widya, but you can call me Widi. So I'm working for the Directorate General of New and Renewable Energy and Energy Conservation. So regarding the utilization of solar PV in the building, we can talk it specifically is by using the PV rooftop. So currently in Indonesia, the total capacity of solar PV rooftop nationally is 67 megawatt. It comes from 6,000 customers. So the number is still quite low, but the government have a target in the next 5-10 years, the capacity will achieve 3.6 gigawatt. So to achieve the target, currently government of Indonesia already change or do the change in the regulation. We are now use the net metering system to attract customers, industries, and other stakeholders to utilize the solar PV rooftop. And besides, to achieve the target, government of Indonesia currently have a cooperation with the UNDP. So we provide some kind of incentive for the customers who install the solar PV. It's about 10 to 20% of incentive from the total investment. So we do this as we know that the investment in the solar PV is still quite high, and besides, the electricity price in Indonesia is still in some cases still subsidized. So government try to make this investment in the solar PV more attractive. So we change the regulation and we provide the incentive. Maybe that's for the answer for your question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Widya, for the kind response. So I noted that the net metering system is like really enforced by the government now, but may I check whether is it focused only to the household, I mean like the household consumer, or also apply to like the high-rise building? Can you confirm on that?
It's applied to all the customers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so including the high-rise building. Okay, that's a new information for me, because I thought the green high-rise building isn't really applied to this net metering scheme. So thank you for the kind clarification. So let's move on to our second panelist here, Mr. Wacharin. So Mr. Wacharin is the engineer of Department of Alternative Energy Development and Efficiency, or DEDE of Thailand. Mr. Wacharin has worked in DEDE for more than 4 years. The main responsibility is to promote renewable energy, especially solar energy in Thailand, and also other innovative technology to distribute the knowledge to the people. He has worked on many projects, such as subsidizing government agency to install some technology such as solar pump, mini grid in rural areas in Thailand, and promote the use of renewable energy and use the power efficiently to benefit the people. He also has worked and collecting data of using the solar energy, installing the solar panels and solar heat, as well as the cost. And yeah, I believe Mr. Wacharin also have other projects and ongoing projects that he is doing now with DD. So Mr. Wacharin, to start with, I would like to also ask the same thing and about how is the status of solar PV utilization on building in Thailand, and how would you see the development in the next 5 or 10 years? Over to you, Mr. Wacharin. Thank you.
Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Wacharin. In the present, using solar PV application in building in Thailand is quite give a good response, especially in the sector of factories. They install the PV system in order to reduce the electricity expenses. And I'm not sure the number, but I think like about 700 megawatt install solar roof on buildings in Thailand. And recently there is a business growing up in Thailand. They install solar PV for free on big buildings, such as in factories or malls. In return, they collect the money from the big building owners who use electricity from the PV. I think this is a win-win business, and I believe the business will be very popular in 5 or 10 years for sure in Thailand. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wacharin, for the kind sharing. So I noted here what is different with Indonesia's policy is Thailand already started incentivizing the battery storage for the solar PV system, which may be not yet in Indonesia. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Pak Widi. And also I noted that while for Thailand, it's like giving in some cases giving the solar PV for free, while Indonesia, I noted that help subsidizing like the initial cost by 10 to 20%, which is both is a great idea, and look forward to the impact of that. So that's the status in the government side, like in the policy side in Indonesia and Thailand. So let's move on to Dr. Lim, who shared how it is in detail. The implementation in a hospital in Malaysia. I would like to explore more about because you already explained such an impact and also how it also economically benefit the hospital itself. I would like to explore more on your experience in developing this project, like in the practical consideration, how is it possible for potential adoption for other hospital or building like in ASEAN countries? Will it be more easier for existing hospital to adopt the similar module that you have studied, or is it better for new hospital? Can you share more about that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Monica. Okay, to answer your first questions, the system that we developed, of course, is a pilot system. And currently the photovoltaic thermal or the PVT is not widely available in the market. The one that you saw in my presentation is actually fabricated on site by our researchers and also the solar PV installer. In order for it to be commercialized later, it has great potential. And even I think there are several manufacturers in China has already progressively manufacturing this photovoltaic thermal in the market. But unfortunately, currently it doesn't have, the product doesn't have in the off shelf. You can buy it from the market. So you must specially request from the manufacturers to be shipped out from China. Having said that, the whole entire system that we propose for the hospital Kepala Batas is actually basically also the Malaysian hospital policy, because the Malaysian, the Ministry of Health, currently there is regulations that most of the hospital ward in Malaysia is affordable, therefore it doesn't have any air conditioning. So the policy is without air conditioning. Therefore, this system that we introduced doesn't fall into the category of air conditioning, because we are using photovoltaic, and is integrated with the thermal, and then from that generation of thermal, it also generates the cool air, and then we use the cool air to supply it to the indoor environment. So that one doesn't fall into the air conditioning system. So therefore, it's acceptable by the Ministry of Health. Currently, the system from the research result, it shows a very promising application, especially on a natural ventilated ward like Malaysia. But I suppose in most of the countries in ASEAN also have a similar weather condition. It's hot and humid condition. So therefore, I think this system works well with that condition, which can be replicated either in a new hospital or can be retrofitted to the existing hospital. And then, and then furthermore, it actually consumes not much energy, yeah, compared to a conventional aircon system, which actually is what I call it actually consume a lot of the total energy consumption of the hospital, maybe almost more than 50 or 60% of the total energy consumption of the hospital. All right. So I think beside the cooling, it also able to generate hot water supply to the hospital occupants. Yeah. So you get cooling as well as you get hot water supply at the same time. So I think that one will able to address the saving for the hospital management. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Lim, for the kind explanation. So what I surprised first is that there is a policy in Malaysia that doesn't allow the hospital to like aircon the ward. So that's a surprise for me, because it maybe for in this case is not.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe
Because,
yes.
yeah, because the hospital is catering for the third class and is made affordable for most of the public. So if they put the air conditioning, then they could have incur additional costs. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Now I got a clearer picture. So because this is like a public hospital that's quite tight with the budget, so there is like internal policy to avoid using the, yeah, okay, now I get it. So yeah, that's also like confirm that your study and your technology is basically what is needed by the ASEAN member states, where maybe in the cities, the need is not that apparent, but maybe in the rural communities where the hospital is still maybe not yet have that 24 hours electricity, that's really crucial, right? So yeah, look forward for more collaboration with the private sector, hopefully from this discussion, to really look into this technology and study that you have worked on. Okay, thank you, Dr. Lim. Now let's move on to my colleague, Dr. Zulfikar. So you have explained the Outlook 7 and how the projection would be and how it relates with the solar PV plus, the more optimum solar PV plus utilization. I would like to ask your own opinion. What are the key parameters or the enablers to really because maybe our audience here is like the general audience, right? It like doesn't really quite understand what the figures and also how the projection. So could you share more like in a more practical way, how should we do to really realize reaching this RE target and also have more solar PV utilization? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Monica. I think that's very interesting and probably difficult questions. I think first what we might need to do is the supporting framework in terms of regulatory. It's very important. I think we noted, like, for example, in Vietnam, when they have this feed-in tariff set for solar, how it can, like, create the solar boom happening, and the last 2 years, I think. And also and it's not only in terms of financing, I think, but also supporting policies such as to support for the land acquisition, which can be a very expensive part of the solar project. Also on the net metering versus gross metering policy. Also on the policy that, basically in Vietnam, they do not have this local content policy, so that it's quite easier for the developer to get the cheapest possible, equipments and also materials without the need to follow this local content. Although this can be very different from countries to countries. So I think in the starting point, the regulatory framework supporting one would be very crucial. But the second step, I think, for the regions to be able to have this solar PV, for example, to be sustainable, building the local capacity would be very important. So building the technical capacity would be very important. So I think in terms of capacity building, sharing of lessons, research, and this probably might include this PV Plus, which I see as a innovative way of utilizing solar. So I mean, solar generally you have this utility scale solar, that's one, but how we can use it in a more innovative way, how we can combine it with agriculture in building as part of the rooftop, for example. Floating solars, I think it starts to getting ground in the region. So I think those, I think first regulatory policy to support, but second, I think the the capacity involvement of financing sectors, private sectors will be very important if we want to go far in this solar penetrations. Yeah, hopefully the answers. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Yeah, that's really answers. And to sum up is you first highlighted the enforcement of the existing policies that we have, like the net metering, and also the enforcement of using the battery storage technology. And also the second is the capacity building, which is important for the one who really do who really construct and use, perhaps, yeah. To really know the benefits and how it would be more efficient and cheaper in the future, and also sustainable, of course. So yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Zulfikar, for the kind recommendations. Again, thank you very much for all the speakers here. Due to the time limitation, because we have the second session and we don't want to have the participant drag too much with our webinar. So apologies, I have to cut our discussion here. Again, thank you very much for your kind sharing the insights. It's really appreciated, and I believe it will be useful for our participants today. Thank you, and I return the floor to my colleague Jason here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to all the excellent how Dr. Zulfikar Yunaidi, Mr. Wacharin Pachetian, and Mr. Widya Adinugroho for your insights and information regarding Solar PV Plus in building, and also to Ms. Monica Merdekawati for excellently moderating our first session. Some key takeaways that we can learn from the first session are: the utilization of Solar PV Plus in building can really increase socioeconomic levels, like the one shown in the Hospital Kepala Batas, Malaysia, where the use of Solar PV really helped in improving patients' well-being and building efficiency. And also, policy by governments need to further support and incentivize the effort towards implementing Solar PV Plus in buildings. Now, let us move on to our second session on Solar PV Plus in ecological and community management, which will be moderated by Mr. Argon Soykau as the scientist of Department of Alternative Energy Development and Efficiency, DEDE of Thailand, for the session. I invite our moderator for the session to take over. Mr. Argon Soykau, the time is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Jimmy, for the introduction. So good morning, everyone. Now we come to the last session of the series of the ASEAN-China Capacity Building of the Solar PV Plus Utilization. It is my great honor to be here as the panelist for yesterday and also the moderator for this session. So my name is Agon Soikeo. I have been working in the Department of Alternative Energy Development and Efficiency, Ministry of Energy of Thailand for more than 10 years in the field of biofuel promotion and solar energy development. The topic of the last session today will be focused on the solar PV plus in ecological and community management, in which the solar PV can be incorporated as part of the living people, that it can play some important roles in terms of creating impacts and benefits on ecology and the communities. So today we will have the two speakers. The speaker number one, Mr. Phượng Yosawapak Phaiboon, the Energy Solution Manager of SCG Ceramic. And the second speaker will be given by Mr. Kong Jin Yu from the Solar Project Financing Director, the Zhong He Bridge. And after that, we will be joined by three other panelists in the panel discussion in the topic of ecological and community management for the Solar PV Plus. We will be joined by Mr. Praptono Adisulismotomo from the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources of Indonesia, Mr. Wacharin Pajit Yen from the DED of Thailand, and Mr. Kan Boon Hien, the CEO of Leader Energy. So to begin with the first presentation, the topic of the first presentation will be the smart solar floating and solar rooftop power generation system to increase the efficiency of tap water production at Nong Khae Industrial Estate. This presentation will be done by Mr. Phượng Yosawapak Phaiboon as the Energy Solution Manager of SCG Ceramic and also the Operation Manager of Susan Smart Solution. He is an expert in the energy efficiency, energy management, and renewable energy. He obtained the Bachelor of Engineering from the Khon Kaen University. So when you are ready, Mr. Phượng, the floor is yours.
Already, thank you. Possible, I would like to share our slide from my computer. Did you see our slide?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, nice to meet you all. My name is Phượng Yos. I am the operation manager at the Susan Smart Solution. The Susan Smart Solution is the one company in the SCG Ceramic. For the topic today, for the presentation, I have the three topics. The first topic is the solar project in year 2015 for the solar floating and solar rooftop. And the second topic is the solar project is now from the 2015 to until now. I have the new technology about the bifacial and tracker technology. And the last one, the solution for the solar business, like energy carbon trading and microgrid. I don't sure you have the see the full screen, that's right.
I don't think it will be in full screen yet. And the screen is stuck at the first slide.
Oh, sorry. I think maybe you can show the user slide from your computer. Maybe the computer have some problem. Okay, thank you. For the next one. Next again. Yes, I introduce about our business. The SCG Ceramic have the three business. The first business is the ceramic tile in the brand Cotto and Campana. And the second business is the Sosuko Ceramic in the brand Sosuko. And the last one is the Susan Smart Solution. The Susan Smart Solution is the company for the provide the energy system like a solar floating, solar rooftop. Okay, next. This is the certificate and award for the Susan Smart Solution. We have the certificate about ISO system and have the award from the ASEAN Energy Award and Thailand Energy Award, right? The next. Okay, for the first topic, I will share the project in the 2015 for the floating and solar rooftop. This project have the award from the ASEAN Energy Award. Yes. The next. This is the overall plan for the non-care industry for the install the solar system. You can see the all area have the many factory in the industry estate. In the non-care industry estate, stay in the center of the Thailand. In the yellow color have the position for the install the solar system for the water production or supply the water to the all factory in industry estate. The next one. This is the overview from the water production plant at the non-care industry estate. If you after you look, they have the more the system for the floating and the rooftop. The next one. For the water production plant at the non-care, we install the 4 area. For the first area in the A area. The A area, this is the floating solar system. The capacity for install this is 80 kilowatt. For the B area, this is installed in the metal sheet, the solar roof for the 20 kilowatt. And the C area for the install in the solar roof at the aperture roof type. And the next one in the D area, we install in the solar system at the concrete flat roof. We compare the all system for the how about efficiency solar system for install at the floating, at the metal sheet roof type, at the aperture cement type, and the last one compare with the concrete roof flat roof types. Next. This is the result from the output after we install. For the floating, we have the specific output energy compared with the capacity for install. The floating have the more efficiency because the floating have the temperature is low compared with the roof. You can see the result, the 4.1 kilowatt hour per the kilowatt capacity per day. This is the more than the rooftop allow 9%. Yes. And the next one you can see the at the concrete flat roof. The concrete flat roof have the more specific energy. This is the 4.1 for the energy output. Okay. After that, we compare with the playback periods. In the playback periods, the floating is the more time compared with the another type, but have the efficiency more because the floating have the investment cost more for about the FDPE pontoon. Yes, and if you can see the B area installed in the metal sheet, the efficiency is low, but the payback is fast compared with more the floating. In the install at the roof metal sheet and aperture allow 5.1 or the 5.2 year for the payback period, and the floating 6.5 year. Yes, for the result of the reduced energy consumption at the water plant can reduce the energy allow 14%. Yes. Okay, the next. This is a very long time for this project, around 8 years ago. Now we have the new project for the compare the technology again for the solar farm with the bifacial and tracker technology. Okay, next. This is a new project for the Susan Smart Solution. You can look the overview. This have the total capacity the 2.1 megawatt. In the A area is the inverter station, and the B area is the front upgrade, and the C area is the cleaning system, and the last one the D is the monitoring system and weather station. Okay, the next. For the this pan have the 11 inverter, and every inverter we install the PV panel is the same. For the one inverter, 364 PV for the one inverter. For the inverter and the inverter 9, we install the monofacial, and inverter 11 we install the tracker system, and another inverter in the red area we install the bifacial, because we want to compare the technology about bifacial and module and the monofacial module and the tracker. How about the efficiency? Okay, the next slide, the result. The result after we compare the technology monofacial and bifacial and tracker, the result, the monofacial compare with the bifacial at the fixed mounting. The bifacial will be the you gain more than 3% compared with the monofacial. And the tracker have the more efficiency, the more output compared the fixed mounting system, around 17%. Okay, this is the result of our plan. Yes. The next, the total plan. This is the can saving around 11 million baht per year, and can reduce the carbon reduction 1,000 and. Okay, the next. This is the some project we have the installed more project in the Susan Smart Solution. You can I will show a little bit for the some project. The next one. This is the total project we install in the Thailand and ASEAN. We have the one project in the Philippines. Yes, the total project is the 79 project. The total capacity is 62 megawatt, and have the many types like a solar roof, solar floating, solar farm, and solar carport. Okay, the next one. This is our client. Maybe do some Ajinomoto and Shell and Gulf and Betaco rice. Okay, the next one. This is the example for the project our for install solar. Yes. Okay, the next. This is the reference for the only rooftop. Yes. Okay, and this the solar floating after we install in the Nong Khae industrial estate finished. We have the one project for the big one for the solar floating 1 megawatt. You can see in the picture. Now it's operated already about 4 years. Okay, the next. This is the farm also 8.7 in the center of the Thailand. This is the big one. The next. And this is the solution for the carport. If you have the plan for install the carport, don't use the roof for the metal sheet. You can use the solar panel for repeat for the roof. You can see the picture. Don't have the roof, but use the solar panel to the carport. Okay. And the last one, I will share another solution for the solar system for the Susan the implement. Yes. Okay, the next. And the Susan have some application for the monitoring the solar system. The application can show the monitoring or the inverter brand. Can the one in you can download in the iOS or the Android, right? Okay, thank you. And the next one is the monitoring solution can the monitoring on the website and can get more information from the inverter and have the feature, compare the efficiency, and another this is be implemented by our team for check the system, the solar, and check the efficiency for the system. Okay, the next. This is the one solution for the energy trading and carbon trading. In the future, maybe have the if you have the area for install solar, you can sell the electric to another place by the educator from the platform. Yes, maybe now is the sandbox in Thailand for the implement for this system. Okay, the next one. Also, after you sell the electric, you can certificate from the carbon output. You use the how many you use electric from the solar and how many the carbon CO2 for reduce can the trading with the CO2. Yes. The next one. And the last one for the microgrid. We have the project some the microgrid in the Nong Khae industry. Have the three factory like factory P-class, factory Futami, and factory bathroom. After the factory, you can select the source, how to use from the Susan, how many use from the electric from the PEA. This is the pilot project in the microgrid. Yes. And the last one, this is some project. If in the future you have the more factory, you can select the source or use the electric. You can select the source from use electric from the solar or use electric from the government from the PEA. You can use the how much for the use electric is. Okay, the next. Okay, thank you. I would like to share our presentation today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Phương Yot, for the insightful innovation and also many projects that have been dealing with the solar PV application in the industrial estate. I would like to point out that the SCG Ceramic is also working with a lot of biocircular economy with the cooperation with the local level and doing like the CSR project and doing with a lot of communities. So they have done a lot of project in dealing with the community level. So move on to the next speaker. I would like to invite Mr. Kong Ching Yu, the solar project financing director from Zhonghe Bridge. He's now he's working with the Zhonghe Bridge, which is the China's largest rural inclusive financial institution. And they expert themselves in supporting small and micro scale business in rural area of China for over 10,000 villages. And he will give you an insight on how solar PV will fight against the poverty problem in China. So if things are ready, so the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Qing Yu from Zhonghe Bridge in China. And it's a very pleasure and honored for me to share with you the case of the company and perhaps some of our experience in China's residential rooftop solar PV promotion. Next, please. And first, I would like to briefly introduce Zhonghe Bridge. Zhonghe Bridge started as a non-profit organization program designed by IBRD in 1996 and transformed into a commercial microfinance company in 2008. And in the past decade, Zhonghe Bridge has evolved to the largest rural-focused microcredit company in China, serving over 430,000 borrowers through a network of 460 branches and online distribution channel across China. We now have more than 6,600 full-time local employees covering about 100,000 villages across China. And since 1996, we have invested a total of more than 14 billion US dollars in loans to rural areas, and of which 80% of our customers are farmers, with an average loan amount of just $4,700. Next, please. And so today, the company has developed to the point where its business has covered all aspects of rural production and life. As you can see, in agriculture production, we provide sales of agriculture materials, technical training and guidance, and supply chain management services. And in terms of farmers' life, we provide micro insurance, microfinance, and sales of agriculture products. And we started actually last year to carry out the promotion and development of residential rooftop solar PV that we are focusing on today. The development of this business is based on the company's many years of experience in the rural market and the company's accumulated investments in information technology. We now allow all our customers with just one smartphone to experience all the services offered by our company. Next, please. We decided to promote solar PV is because we see a lot of benefits in rooftop solar PV for rural residents, which fits very well with the company's mission. For example, it can increase the property income of homeowners and promote common prosperity, and it can increase local employment in rural areas and stimulate the rural economy. And it also can enhance urban-rural integration and realize rural revitalization. Next, thank you. So before we determined to enter into this area, the first question was, is China's policy today friendly for rooftop PV? And we found out the answer was very positive. The National Development and Reform Commission issued a document to encourage the acceleration of the development of PV and wind power. At the same time, to promote the development of energy digitalization and intelligence, accelerate the level of intelligence of the energy industry chain. And on June 20th, 2021, the National Energy Administration issued a notice on pilot programs, which kickstarted nationwide pilot programs to promote the development of rooftop PV throughout each county, and requiring that the roof space of public buildings, commercial and industrial plants, and rural residential buildings should be at least 50%, 40%, 30%, 20% available for PV installation respectively. And in November 2020, Ministry of Housing and Construction released the solar power project specification for wide public consultation, and Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, National Rural Revitalization Bureau released the implementation opinions on accelerating the transformation and development of rural energy to help rural revitalization, clarifying the higher goal of rural revitalization, which is low carbon or even zero carbon energy use. Next, please. So residential rooftop PV has two business models, differed by their ownership structures and operating models. One is rooftop rental model, which is owned by developer, and the other is user-owned model. And this table below compares the main features of those two models. And the dominant form of residential rooftop PV rollout in China's counties is the rooftop rental model. This is also the model used by Chonghe Bridge. And the rooftop rental model is developed by investors, usually SOEs in China, in partnership with a private developer. And the developer leases the rooftop of the farmer's house for 20 to 25 years. And all the revenue from the electricity bill goes to the investor first, and who in turn pays the rent to the homeowner on a regular basis. And currently, the rooftop rental model accounts for 80 to 90% of the new installations, and the user-owned model only accounts for 10 to 20%. And we think the reason is farmers are the typical risk-averse people. Because the purchase of rooftop PV systems are not only take up funds, but also to bear the greater risk of fluctuations in power generation. So the user-owned model is really difficult to promote. And by comparison, the rental model is much simpler and more stable for farmers. Thank you. Next. So there are three general ways for market player to participate in the value chain of residential solar PV. In descending order of the depth of involvement in the entire value chain, they are independent development, cooperative development, and EPC. So we have chosen the second model based on our strengths, which I will share more details later. And we do believe that many entities can combine their strengths and participate in the value chain of household rooftop PV. In whichever model you choose, there are good benefits to be had. Next, please. So this slide is a breakdown of profits for all stakeholders. And as we just mentioned, in the current situation in China, there are profits for all parties involved. Private enterprise and SOEs have about 9% annual return. And for farmers, it can increase passive income by about 6,000 RMB per year for about 20 to 25 years. Next, please. So in choosing to participate in the rural residential PV model, we have considered three main aspects. The first is the established rural network, and second is strong government relationships, and third is solar project management skills. And our greatest strength is our rural staff and more than 20 years of experience in doing business in China's rural areas. And we also have good government relations, and our reputation and the capability is backed by multinational development banks, because we have cooperation with them. And although we have been in the residential PV space for a short time, our previous credit business has helped us build very solid team management skills and close relationships with our customers. So we are able to develop PV clients from our stock of over 430,000 active customers, or even from the cumulative millions of customers we have served. Next, please. So our residential solar PV business, like our other businesses, has received a great deal of positive feedback from our customers because we have made the roofs of their houses, which originally did not produce any benefits, become so-called iron crops, a reliable pension insurance, and even a gift to their children. So we also give our customers an energy saving and emission reduction certification, giving them a sense of participation and honor in green emission reduction business. And from company side, we not only can remotely monitor the power generation of each power station through the mobile app, but also will regularly visit them on site for maintenance to ensure the interests of all stakeholders. Next, please. So a summary of our business model experience. The first and the most important thing is to sincerely cooperate with rural residents. In other words, we need to have education and contractual spirit, and we need to give them confidence and honor. And second, we can seek support from multilateral institutions and ESG investments funds. They will have great support, not only fund, but also the reputation. And the last but not least, the internet thinking in operation is very important. While we have reachable offline teams, we also need to make our teams more efficient and smarter. And the technology we have today is also fully capable of supporting us to develop in this way. Next. Oh, that's all. Thanks for listening.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Xing Yu, for your presentation on a very interesting concept of the poverty relief of the solar PV concept in China. So we can learn that we love to see how the China became friendly to the rooftop PV policy because of the many of the organizations are involved, and with the strong relation between the government sector, the public sector, and the local sector, the private sector. So it's very interesting to see that with this cooperation, so that they can get better understanding and motivation to do the sustainable developing of the solar PV. And I also want to summarize on the rooftop rental model, which would be easier for farmer and also might be applied to the ASEAN member state that will be benefit to that way of life. So before we moving on to the panel discussion, okay, we will now join here by three other panelists, Mr. Praptono Adisulistomo, Mr. Gan Bunhian, and Mr. Washrin Pajian. I would like to introduce our panelists first. Mr. Praptono Adisulistomo is the policy analyst and the coordinator of the Renewable Energy Investment and the Cooperation of the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources of Indonesia. He has more than 20 years of experience in rural electrification, clean energy development, and help formulating a lot of the policy that deal with the energy transition in Indonesia. His education background is from master degree of the electrical engineer from the University of New South Wales and the bachelor from the University of Gajah Mada. The next speaker is, the next panelist is Mr. Gan Bunhian. He has more than 40 years of experience in power industry. He became the CEO of the Leader Energy since 2020 and has many responsibility in doing strategic direction of the company, including the development of the power generation plant and the rooftop project in many countries. And the last panelist is Mr. Washrin Pajian, who is actually my colleague. He worked in the Ministry of Energy of Thailand for more than 4 years and also doing a lot of projects in the solar energy development, as mentioned by Ms. Monica. So I would like to begin first question with Mr. Kong Qing Yu from Chonghe Bridge. Since the company has accumulated significant experience in developing solar PV project in community management, what is the major learning experience that the ASEAN member state can learn, and how you can see it can be improved for our way of life? Thank you.
Okay. I think the experience from our side is that there are two parts. And first is the company's operation. I think any companies like Chunghwa Bridge, whichever business area they are, if they have an established business that is deeply rooted in the community, and they can deal with the local people in the local language. I'm not only mean the language, but the ways of thinking. And then that is a very big advantage and opportunity for these companies to cooperate with investors and developers and become a connection and use the internet thinking in operation because of online and offline. Online plus offline is a more efficient way. And then for marketing, Chunghwa Bridge's experience is to know your community and to be genuine with your customers. And sometimes you might have to educate them and give the residents confidence and minimize their risks. And I think your question, the second question, I think so the biggest potential is that the residential PV is a very good means of promoting common prosperity. Because in China, I think I believe in many Asian countries also, there is this proportional there is a kind of big urban and rural income gap, and community conditions in rural areas are more suitable for rooftop solar PV than in cities. And I think this can be precisely raise the income in rural areas. So I think there will be a tremendous market for this as long as the policy in the country allows that, just like in China. And I think that's, I'm not sure, does that answer your question?
Yeah, yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. This would be very beneficial for the ASEAN member states. So, but it will also depend on the policy of each country, as you have mentioned. So it is applicable, but it's also to be considerable with the local authority as well. So the next question I would like to ask the speaker first. So Mr. Feung-Yot, you have highlighted the novel design of the PV in Nong Khae Industrial Estate. So can you see some, can you share that your application and design can be adopted to other industry or the other ASEAN member countries? And what you can see for the improvement? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your question. I think in the future have the more technology in the solar system, and now is have the potential in the industrial estate, because all the industrial estates have the water pond. Water pond is the storage water supply for the use all manufacturing, and all company must be use the water. And the water pond is don't use for the another system. You can install the solar floating at the water pond, and after that, in the future, after you will install the solar floating ready, you can sell the electric from the solar floating to the another factory in your industry estate. Every industry estate must be have the water pond already. Yes, and in the land cost in the industry estate will be high. You cannot buy the land in the industry estate for the install solar, but you can use the area for the water pond and install the solar floating. Don't buy the land cost from the industry. I think that this is very potential in the solar system in the ASEAN and in the Thailand also. Okay, thank you.
Oh, okay. So with the solar floating can be applied like in the where the land area have high cost, maybe like in the urban areas, so that maybe needed for more energy more than like in the rural area. So it would be a very interesting concept. So next question for Mr. Kan Bun Hien. Because of you have a lot of experience, extensive experience in clean energy development, could you please share briefly what is the leader energy work and vision in order to develop the solar PV for the ecological and the community management? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kanakon. I'm Gan from Leader Energy. Leader Energy actually started with like a lot of companies started with thermal power plants 26 years ago. But since 2016, we have actually moved into fully 100% renewable energy. As Kun said, we have been developing solar powers currently have in 7 countries, Malaysia, in the Southeast Asia, in Thailand, in Malaysia, in Singapore, Indonesia, Vietnam, and also in Taiwan. We have seen a lot of country does not really have a policy on land usage. So I fully agree with Kun Funyot just now. Floating solar is one potential, very good potential for development of solar. We do not really use the land purely just for pop-up solar farm, but you actually build solar farms on a land that you can have either dual purpose or use on places that you cannot do anything else. Like for example, I mentioned just now that we have development in Taiwan. In Taiwan, they actually have policies where encourage dual use of the land. Yesterday they are talking about husbandry projects where you have or fisheries project underneath the solar farms. But unfortunately in ASEAN, a lot of countries does not have incentive because most of the developer now looking at the lowest cost. What is the cheapest cost to build the solar farm? So like for example, to be very frank, the solar farm that we built, the one behind my picture, with a very low steel structure. So now we are trying to what we do is we are trying to develop some herbal plants underneath the solar farms so that we have dual use, make full use of the land. But because of the structures are relatively low, it's quite difficult to manage if you want to put plants underneath. But if there is a policy by the authorities encourage the dual use and give some incentive for the developer to either put some plantation or build rare ducks or chicken or even rare fishes underneath the solar farms, then it will be a better way to develop. And this is where we are going forward to. In Taiwan, we have floating solar. We have husbandry projects. We also have herbal plants underneath our solar farms. Similarly, in Malaysia, we are trying to encourage herbal plantation underneath our solar farms. And also we get the involvement of the local residents, in nearby residents, to come and help in terms of the harvest, in terms of the what they call it, taking care of the plants and things like that. So that not only we build a renewable energy that is good for environment, that we achieve reducing the carbon footprint. At the same time, we are also encourage the involvement of the residents around, and it also hopefully we can achieve the COP26, the carbon neutrality net zero of most of the country by 2050. So this is where we are hoping that we can contribute, and this is what we are doing currently.
Thank you, Mr. Kan. So you have mentioned the application of the dual use of the agricultural and the solar panel. So we have touched a little bit into that yesterday. So and yeah, similar in Thailand and also I believe in other ASEAN member states, the agri-PV concept is being like consideration because they have benefit from both the cultivation and the solar PV electricity. And they still need some policy and also some incentive to do that. So we totally agree with that.
Konakon, sorry,
So
I would like to add one more point.
Okay.
The other area that we should really look into is rooftop solar, because a lot of buildings in the region, if you look into it, there are huge potential. We just heard just now from Pak Vidya earlier in the earlier forum. In Indonesia, there's only 67 megawatt of rooftop install base in Indonesia, such a big country. Whereas on for example, you look at Vietnam, they have 9,000 over megawatt is of rooftop solar. You know, you actually really need the policy of the government to encourage that, because instead of letting the roof of the buildings go to waste, there is a good place for you with very minimum cost. You can actually put in solar farms. But of course, a lot of utility view that solar generation from the private investor as a threat to the business. So there are a lot of restriction, but we hope that, you know, more utility, more government can come up with policy that encourages that. If not, then all the roof on top of the commercial and industrial building, even residential, will go to waste. That's my point on that. Thank you.
Very, very good point indeed. Because Thailand also developed the solar rooftop program, but it's not going much because of the too low incentive for the household, and also the shift of the peak load to to a little bit into the night. So they with the more installation of solar, they tend to have like the duck curve event. So some already happened in Thailand. So we also tend to promote the use of the battery energy storage system into the system as well. So to cope with the potential of the curtail of the electricity problem from using too much renewable energy, which can be occur in other Asian member states as well. So thank you for your point. For next question for Mr. Praptono, I would like to ask how about what is the current status of the solar PV in ecological and community management in Indonesia? So, and how it would be developed in next future 5 to 10 years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Argon, for the question. I think in Indonesia, as we know that we are the archipelagic country, they still struggle to expanding the electricity asset for all the people in Indonesia. We know that we are very dispersed in population. Some in concentrate in Java Island, but there are still many people in the part in remote area in Indonesia. So we try to expand the solar PV program for the community for expanding electricity access for those not on the grid. So we intervention from the government since 2011. We have built about 700 micro hydro power plant and solar PV. Not only solar PV, I think, because we expanding the local energy resource there. So the challenge is that based on our regulation, we have to hand it over to the local community after in building the infrastructure is finished. So this is the challenge. So because the village has to maintain itself, so they have to create the local company to maintain, to operate, and we still struggling for the success. But we have some success stories. For example, we have in East Kalimantan, in Muara Enggelam village, we have 30 kilowatt peak for people. So for this success, and until now it's still running well, because they can take the electricity tariff from the local people and then use it for the maintain. In terms for the ecological, we have also an example that the government intervention starting in 2011, in 2012 and 2014. government built the solar PV in post landfill area in Bali Island, 1 megawatt peak. So now it's running well with the Bali municipal create local company to operate. So and then they sell electricity to PLN, and beside that they also build local farming, hydro farming, and with the power from the electricity. You can see it in Bali. It's about one hour from Denpasar in Bangli. This is for the post landfill, and then also for the ecological as well is now we are trying to push the post mining area. It is now one private company, Medco Energy International, has built about 27 megawatt peak solar PV in West Sumbawa. Now, we hope in 5 and until 10 years and more, we can replicate this business model. We are also exploring the better business model. For example, that from we learn a lot about from the China experience, that the business model we explore which suit well with the local community and also the local condition. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Praptono. So it's very interesting to see how if I'm not mistaken, Indonesia is kind of top coal producers, and to have a lot of coal mining site, and you have turning it into the PV farm, right? So it's very interesting concept to doing that. And also we agree with the challenge of after the installation finish, the handover to the community and how they operate and how they sustain the system to become sustainable. So the same thing similar in Thailand. So and also in Thailand for the island, and the contract, the transportation, the installation cost from the mainland is quite high. So they tend to form their own community enterprise. So in order to develop and to install and maintenance the solar PV install on the community. So same thing happened as well. So thank you, Mr. Praptono. So next, I move on to Mr. Wacharin. The same question of how is the current status of the PV application in ecological and the community management in Thailand? How you can see it develop into the next 5 or 10 years? Thank you.
Okay. Hi. Currently, solar PV application is widely used in local community in Thailand. For instance, farmers use the solar pump instead of diesel pump to reduce gas of carbon dioxide, or in some areas with no access of electricity or difficult to get electricity, they use the solar off-grid or even mini-grid and install to replace a fossil generator. This will remain ecology. And talking about management, in Thailand, some areas are good and some are bad. For example, government support off-grid system to many local communities, but there is no plan for management. People who have benefit from the system are not sure how to take care of the system. So the system are broken. Many systems are broken. On the other hand, in one case, government installed solar system in a very small island in the south of Thailand called Got Yao Noi. In the past, people used to produce electricity from diesel generator, but now solar system is one of main sources to produce electricity. To manage the system, there is a training for local people, and they know how to use the system correctly. They know how to do maintenance, so on and so forth. And I think if we keep this one as a prototype, solar PV application will be much developed in the next 5 or 10 years in Thailand.
Okay, thank you. So kind of similar concept thing that we need to have the local community to play with in order to get it successful. So I have been notified that I have some time left a little bit. So I would like to open question, maybe like for freely to everyone to answer. So the question is what can we improve to penetrate the solar PV in terms of the industrial facility or the company activities to develop for the local communities? What should we focus? What technology? What should we focus and the capacity building? So I would like to invite any panelists here to answer the question. So what can we focus? Technology, the capacity in order to make it penetrate into the local community in success.
Maybe I can have my say something on this. To really push for renewable energy and solar into the community, I think is a concerted effort from everybody, from the decision makers, from the what you call it, the suppliers, and more importantly also from financial institution. We heard just now from Mr. Kong, the lenders coming in with the what they call it, the financing scheme. But there are also a lot of developers like us going in proposing a zero capex model, where the developer will take up all the installation design and the risk. But of course, if there is an enough incentive from the government, and also with the introduction of carbon tax in some of the countries, that would definitely push for more utilization or more penetration of the solar projects into community, not only just CNI, but also for the residential. That's my take for this.
Thank you, Mr. Kan. Is anybody would like to share their view on this topic?
Okay, from me, I think maybe just a bit subjective the context, because I believe that in Indonesia context, maybe it also applies to other countries as well. That two aspects. The most important aspect is the policy support, and also the regular training, or maybe the local technician, the local technician in the local area. The policy support is needed because it is a bit complex though, and headed over how to operate and maintain, how to create local company or village company, how to finance them, and also how to give the training well-trained to the local people to operate and maintenance, and also the education as well to the local people, whether that this is the electricity that we have to cherish together. Maybe they're not this is not free. We have to operate together, and we keep running together. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Praptono. Okay, is there anybody else who would like to share?
I'm watching from Thailand. I think to penetrate of using solar system in local community, I think the technology is very important. As you know, the solar energy is not a reliable system. It's not a reliable energy. So we need the energy storage system to make the system much more reliable. And this one can convince people to use the solar energy more. And so, in my opinion, I think energy storage system is the key to popularize the use of solar PV in local communities.
Okay. And the energy storage system is still, the price is still a little bit high, and we will have to incentive for that too. Okay. So with no further comment, I would like to thank our panelists here for discussing on the last topic on the solar PV plus of the ecological and community management. And if there is anything I am doing wrong, so I'm sorry. I'm handing back to you, the MC Jimmy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Speakers and panelists, Mr. Praptono Adisulistomo, Mr. Gan Bunhan, Mr. Wacharin Pachitian, Mr. Fyungyot Saupakpaibun, and Mr. Kong Chin Yu for giving us new and wonderful insights through their materials and discussion regarding the Solar PV Plus in ecological and community management. And we also appreciate and thank Mr. Argon Soikiao, who have wonderfully moderated our second session. Some key takeaways that we can take home from the second session are Solar PV Plus can provide efficiency and ecological solutions for local communities located near the industry that implement these technologies, like the case in Thailand. We also should have a concentrated effort from all these stakeholders to further educate the local communities so that they can further accept this technology. And to catalyze the growth of implementation of these projects, we should provide or work together to create a green financial support like Green Development Fund, bank green bonds, and for multilateral institutions to support funding for these projects. The previous session marks the end of the series of ASEAN-China Capacity Building on Solar PV Plus utilization. And to close this capacity building event, I warmly invite Mr. Septia Buntara as the manager of the Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Department at ASEAN Centre for Energy to give the closing remarks. To Mr. Septia, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, Jason. Honorables, Mr. Huang Cheng, the Director of ASEAN-China Cooperation Fund, or ACCF, Dr. Gu Hongbin, the Deputy Director General of China Renewable Energy Engineering Institute, or CREEI, Dr. Nuki Agiautama, the Executive Director of the ASEAN Centre for Energy. Good morning from Jakarta to the Excellencies, Honorables, participants, ladies and gentlemen. We are now coming to the end of day 3, also the last day of the series of ASEAN-China Capacity Building on Solar PV Plus utilization. On behalf of the ASEAN Centre for Energy, I would like to express the gratitude to Mr. Huang Cheng, the Director of ASEAN-China Cooperation Fund, and Dr. Gu Hongbin, the Deputy Director General of CREEI, for making this event series become a reality. Thank you very much for your strong support for the development of renewable energy in the region. I hope that the success of the capacity building series will mark a long-lasting partnership among ACCF and CREEI in the future. I also would like to express appreciation to all the moderators and speakers for having facilitated informative presentations about their work related to Solar PV Plus in different industry and stimulating discussions that carry meaningful prospects to the Solar PV Plus uptake in the region. Furthermore, the 3 virtual events would not have happened without the hard work and support from all the staff and colleagues from ACE, ACCF, and CREEI, which I'm grateful for. To sum up what we have discussed for the last 3 days of the series, in day 1, we explored the potential of Solar PV Plus as green recovery strategy after the global pandemic. After that, we deep dive more into the application of solar PV in agriculture, fisheries, and animal husbandry. On day 2, with some case studies from Indonesia and China, we learned a lot of things. On day 3, we talk about how Solar PV Plus can be integrated in development of sustainable buildings, in ecological and community management. All the ideas, inputs, and conversations through the 3 days will not solely contribute to the development of project. However, it will be really useful for us. So we really thankful for the support from China. This also brings support to our achievement of the regional target under APEC Phase 2 for 32% of the RE share in TPS and 35% in total installed capacity in 2025. I believe that with all lessons learned, experience shared during this capacity sharings, and strong commitment of 10 ASEAN member states towards sustainable energy transition, the application of Solar PV Plus in various sectors will be promoted significantly. With that being said, I'm enormously looking forward to the upcoming collaboration between ACCF and CREEI on the way to stimulate the growth of Solar PV Plus in ASEAN with ACE. I hope that all the participants who have taken their precious time to join our capacity building series will have some insightful takeaways, messages after the events. On behalf of ACE, we would like to thank you for your continued support and hope to see you soon at other events in the future. I wish you all the best and please stay safe and healthy. Thank you, everyone. Back to you, Jason.
Thank you, Mr. Septia Buntara, for giving the closing remarks of our capacity building series. Your Excellencies and distinguished guests, We are now at the end of our workshop. I would like to thank you for your proactive participation in the event and having a fruitful discussion with our speakers. We do hope that the information shared in this capacity building would be beneficial for your future work. We would also like to send our sincere appreciation to all the speakers and colleagues from ACE and ASEAN-China Cooperation Fund for making this capacity building event a reality. Before ending the workshop, we would like to ask for your kind support to fill in the post-evaluation survey. The link to the survey has been sent via the chat box, or you can scan the QR code that can be seen on your screen right now. Your input is highly appreciated and would help us improve in the next events. Furthermore, all the reportage of Day 1, Day 2, and Day 3 of this capacity building series will be available at our website, aseanenergy.org. The reportage of Day 1 is already available to be accessed. And also, do not forget to download the 7th ASEAN Energy Outlook through the link that has been sent in the chat box. AEO7 provides the latest status of ASEAN's energy landscape, and it also projects multiple realistic futures to gather insights for exploring a more challenging time ahead. Finally, we wish you all to stay safe and healthy. See you soon at the following events and activities. Once again, thank you and goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.